and you're feeling. But in the next level of development, you begin to come on almost on an equal level. That you become like brothers and sisters, the deity and you, you know. It's like, in a sense also, that in a very kind of, if you look at it from a psychological point of view, it's a way of, how would you say, resurrecting your self-esteem. Your self-esteem, you know, because we have a very bad self-image. And we've been told that we are sinners, that we are this and we are that, we've been suppressed. And we need to really, how would you say? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not so much saying that somebody is telling us, but we ourselves in many ways sometimes, you see, think of really the worst things of ourselves. Either we have a really big idea about ourselves, quite unrealistic idea of ourselves, or we have a terrible idea, so we don't have a very balanced view of these things. Do you know what I'm saying? So that in a very interesting, through this process you develop also your self-esteem. That you begin to see that yourself. That's why this whole practice of purification, there's many practice of purification. Like many of the tantric rituals and purifications is whole purification and performance. These two things. Like a performance in the sense of the pujas, the ceremonies. These two are both as a process of developing kind of your, how do you say, confidence in yourself. And so that you slowly you come from an ordinary level of realizing the Buddhas are, and all the deities are superior and you are inferior, to slowly becoming equal. And then in the yoga level, on the level of yoga, which is the third level, you realize that actually the deity and you are the same. There is like, how would you say it? It's the sameness of the deity. In fact, the deity is not outside of you, but like in the nature of your mind. You slowly realize. Then you enter into the Antara Yoga Tantra, which is the more advanced tantras. I mean, if you look at the relevance of it, if you look at it from this thing, sometimes I think it's a way of really developing. Like, for example, in future, because Buddhism at the moment is very young in the West. It's very, very young. People are just beginning to slowly, how do you say, grasp the principles of it. Even like, for example, students of Buddhism who've been studying for many years begin to really understand its significance. Even myself, I've taught West, the Dharma, the teaching in the West for 20 years now, because you were asking about my perception of the West, for example. I've taught for 20 years. Now I'm beginning to, after 20 years of teaching, I'm beginning to slowly find, what this teaching really means in a Western context. Do you understand? And in a Western context, in the modern context, in the present context, I think the relevance and the benefit of this teaching is that it helps very much in a very powerful way to boost our real, how do you say, confidence in a good nature and eliminate our negative aspect. That's why first you eliminate your negative aspects and then you boost your good aspects. Because also you see, like for example, when someone has, you see, like in a therapy, when someone has fallen completely apart, what does a therapist try to do is put him together, put his ego together, and try to build his ego. What is called in therapy a healthy ego. But that healthy ego, you understand? In the healthy ego, in a Buddhist sense, that healthy ego, a good ego, is the deadly, your nature. That, you understand? And so you slowly that kind of thing. See? And this is through the process of visualization. The power of visualization is extraordinary. In fact, the power of visualization is extraordinary that many scientists, many healers, I mean, not to talk of on a deeper level, on a very basic level also, the power of visualizations, the amazing power of visualizations are being discovered by many of the healers. Like for example, some of you may have heard of Carl Simelton. He's a doctor who works with cancer patients. He uses visualization. And he found something very powerful. I did a number of conferences with him. It was very interesting what he was saying, that how if you just simply visualize that whatever treatment you're taking, that the treatment is actually working. They're working for you, it's benefiting you. That simple visualization of that actually the treatment is working you, to exemplify that, you see. So that's why when we realize that simple visualizations are so powerful, you realize how powerful how beneficial the power of these tantric visualizations are. You know? Really. And then also I think you see, I think it's also what is the sense. I mean, if you talk about the sense and nonsense, the sense of the Tantra is to see everything purely, because everything is pure. Nonsense is if you misuse that. When you say everything is pure, everything is good, it's not a permission to indulge yourself. Do you understand? So much that sometimes in the West, Tantra has a rather a bad connotation.
Yeah.
Sometimes in India, it is said that kind of Tantra is called left-handed Tantra. That kind of Tantra is called left-handed Tantra. It is slightly hanky-panky Tantra. It is not really Tantra, it's called hanky-panky Tantra. It is not a really serious stuff. It is slightly nonsensical. At least that wakes you up. That's the purpose. So that in a sense you see, like for example, the sexuality. These things you see that inherently is pure. It's something really it's wonderful if you really use. But the danger is that you see, by recognizing that, if you, I don't know, if you don't really, how would you say, if one does not have a maturity of understanding of what it really means, then there is danger of making something sacred into something, how do you say, something,
Casual.
Yeah, casual. Just as, for example, there's a lot of, for example, talk of, for example, like sex. Like, for example, if it's used in a wonderful way, it's wonderful, but there's a really danger people misuse that, isn't it? On the ordinary level. In the same manner, if you profoundly misuse it, in the name of spirituality, it's even worse. So that's why, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? That there is basically, how would you say? I mean, that in the Tantric teaching, everything is seen purely. Everything is seen purely. Because inherently everything is pure. But then there is again a guideline. A guideline, and also a way. A skillful way. So far, I've given you some seed, some kind of little, how to say, some kind of glimpses of, because sometimes your interests are different things,
Mm-hmm.
So I've given you little glimpses of this of Tantra, mentioned a little bit here and there. And so, tell me, what is that you are now interested? I'll talk about that afterwards, because that's a very, very good point. That
There's a very good